Here we go, romanticizing these old codexes and books in order to make them fit into our morality and our system of thinking today. Many people, like this gentleman, like to think that all these books that was written were special codexes and it was only for a few people to truly understand, and that a basic understanding was given to regular people, and then there was this idea of higher understanding for those who could read between the lines. But truth be told, most of these books, most of the writings that you find in these books, there is no reading between the lines. They say exactly what they say and mean exactly what they mean. But in order for you to make the narrative fit in your mind, you have to make them mean something different so that you don't have to look at the immorality of all of these codexes and all of these books and be able to just say that, no, these were evil gods, plain and simple. Whether we're talking about Yahweh, Allah, Shamash, it doesn't matter. These were evil gods that was created by people in order to control the other people. And yeah, you might find some higher conscious things written within them, and only the adept could gain those. But for the most part, they were trying to write their own history and their own system of controls, and that's exactly what they wrote. Now, I'm not suggesting that these people, as you were saying, were less intelligent than we are. Being able to write a codex of the cuneiform and having writing systems and understand the solar system and things of that nature, that has been an endeavor of man since man first started looking up at the sky, since man first started coming into communities. There is nothing special about being able to write cuneiform than there was special for the Hopi Indians to have their writings, for the Aztecs and the Mayans to create their writings, create their calendars. There's nothing is more special to them being able to do that as we have been able to do in creating our atomic clocks and calendars and things of that same nature. It is just a progression of innovation and a progression of inventions, stacking one on top of the other. And we see the same thing when it comes to wisdom and morality. So to say that I'm saying that they had limited knowledge, yes, at every instance of man's journey, man has had limited knowledge. We have limited knowledge right now. They had limited knowledge back then. There were some things that they were more knowledgeable about. There are some things that we are more knowledgeable about. That's just the way things are. Because of necessity, the Europeans built ships that could sail much better over longer distance than people in other parts of the world that did not have a necessity to go out and venture to get food for their people. I mean, you have to realize that. Think about it for a second. What grows in Europe? What great minerals and diamonds and things of that nature that they have in Europe? None. So they had a necessity once their population got big enough that they had to innovate to be able to go to other places and get what needed for their people. If the Africans had the same situation, they would have done the same thing. If the Aztecs, Mayans, or any of the indigenous Americans had that same situation, they would have done the same thing as well. But they didn't have that need, so they didn't have to. So though I am not going to sit here and say that the Europeans were more intelligent than everybody else in the world, they just had a necessity for innovation that everybody else in the world didn't necessarily have. Now, the Chinese had somewhat of that necessity, but they just did it over land with the Mongols especially, and the Hans, than they did over the water. So they didn't have that necessity. That doesn't mean that one is smarter than the other. We all are subject to our limited knowledge based on the scientific abilities that we have at any given point in time in history. Now, you are right about calling something a myth. To me, it is a foregone conclusion that every myth has some level of truth to it. But because that level of truth has been legendized to the unbelievable, that is why they are called myths. And that is why they are not believed to be true accounts, because there is also zero historical data to prove the supernatural forms of any of those things. So myths are exactly what they are. A little bit of truth with a whole lot of lie wrapped around them. So you have a great day. And remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.